America's envoy to the United Nations has accused Russia of being up to its usual tricks with its recent warning about a chemical attack in Syria.
Russia's making accusations about opponents, white helmets, everything else. Assad is doing the same thing. And this is the exact same playbook that Russia and Iran and Assad have used every time.
Earlier, Moscow had warned the US of a possible false flag chemical attack in Syria's province of Idlib, designed to frame Damascus. Despite the warning, Washington says the Syrian government would be to blame for any attack and has threatened military action if any chemical weapons incidents take place.
I think you saw the president get out in front of it yesterday and say, don't make us have to respond, because he's made it very clear if chemical weapons are used, the United States will respond.
Well, it's not only Nikky Haley, the UN ambassador, who is saying that she's prepared to jump the gun and assign blame in the event that a chemical attack happens. We're also hearing from the White House. Let's take a listen.
Let us be clear. It remains our firm stance that if President Bashar al-Assad chooses to again use chemical weapons, the United States and its allies will respond swiftly and appropriately.
Now, at this point, the Syrian government, Russia, Iran, and Turkey are working together to minimize civilian casualties. Now, Sergei Lavrov of the Russian Foreign Ministry pointed out that there's been a promise from the United States to separate the moderate opposition from the terrorists. However, that separation just hasn't taken place. This is what Lavrov said.
Idlib is now the only de-escalation zone, and thousands of extremists led by al-Nusra are based there. Our partners promised to separate extremists from the moderate opposition, but it appears that their unstated goal is to save al-Nusra from airstrikes.
Idlib is the last stronghold of the terrorists in Syria. At this point, we're seeing the Syrian Arab army moving in, and we're also seeing the United States pulling up its forces. There are U.S. cruisers in the Mediterranean. Now, the Syrian government has made clear that it will retake Idlib. Now, they'd prefer to do it peacefully through means of dialogue and negotiation. However, these terrorists are saying that they will not talk to Damascus. The Syrian government is prepared to retake Idlib, and these extremist forces are just not willing to negotiate with the Syrian government.
Investigative journalist Rick Sterling believes the US is unable to back up its chemical weapons claims against Damascus.
In the past, when an incident happened, they automatically claimed they knew who was responsible even before there was an investigation or evidence. And now they've even gone further. So even before the incident happens, they claim to know who's responsible. In reality, all of the chemical weapons incidents going back to 2013 in the spring and then in August of 2013, the subsequent investigations, the serious investigations, ultimately pointed the finger at the terrorists, who, after all, are the ones who stand to benefit. The Syrian government has no interest, has no advantage, has no motive in a chemical weapons incident inside Syria. Elements within the United States and the West generally want to prolong the conflict. They do not want to allow Syria and its allies to succeed in expelling the terrorists and overcoming terrorism in Syria.